This is Things You Might Not Have Heard. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and in the teaser graphic, yes, it's Kevin Spacey. We're going to talk about the story we teased yesterday, but we do have a whole lot of Trump in today. We're not talking pardons. We did that in a separate video. Check that out on the feed if you want to get into all the pardons or a big chunk of the pardons that he's done lately and what I think about them, which is pretty obvious. I think they're kind of blah. But we have 8 stories for you today that you deem conversational from the past day. They cover information, politics, current events, and pop culture news. Like I said, Donald Trump news is in effect. Also, Kevin Spacey and his new movie. Plus, Cassie Ventura. Did you wonder why they put her on the stand so fast in the Diddy case when she seemed like star witness material for the end of a case? We'll talk about that and 5 other stories for the morning. Now, we'll explain the vetting process in quite a bit once we run through all the headlines for the full vetting process. But right off the bat, how we are, who we are, the what we are, if you will, with our website. This is theconversationproject.com. Stop by the website and find out all the information you know about the full offerings we have at the Conversation Project. Also, email us with conversations back and forth offline, more or less, at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. Anytime you want to talk about the stories or life, if you will. And Ground News is our sponsor for today. Visit our website for our affiliate link. This is a conversationproject.com/ground news. We get a small commission for you joining. Use that link. You can get 40% off their Advantage plans and all their news plans and get the news always, not so much as your way, but all the ways you can get it there. We have 8 stories for this Thursday, 29th of May, 2025. No particular order as presented, other than this seems like the best way to do narratives. We'll explain some of the engagement, which we'll go deeper into detail when we talk about how the stories get vetted. And the most engaged story, we'll definitely let you know that one because it's not a surprise, but I guess it may be as well. We'll get to that one and tell you which one it is today because it makes a big difference today. Our first story for this morning goes to Donald Trump, where he got mad at a reporter and snapped at one for talking about a new claim, a new term they have in how he, Donald Trump, deals with Wall Street and the tariffs. He reacted angrily to a reporter questioning about the taco trade, something that's been brought up for the next couple of weeks during a White House event on yesterday. The term was actually coined by a Financial Times columnist, Robert Armstrong, and it stands for Trump always chickens out, which means Trump has a pattern of announcing aggressive tariffs, but then pulls them back to use them as safeguards or bargaining chips or whatever, leading to market rebounds. Basically, the tariff goes up, people freak out, he brings them back, and they go back to close to normal. CNBC reporter Megan Casella asked Trump about the term. He initially misunderstood, thinking she said kick out, not taco or chicken out, and then defended his tariffs, said the term was nasty, didn't like it, and said it was bad, and then defended his tariffs and his tactics for negotiation. He cited examples such as reducing the 145% tariff on Chinese goods to 30% after negotiations and proposing a 50% tariff on EU imports following talks on EU Commissioner President Ursula von der Leyen, which is essentially explaining exactly what he does. He puts something out there, then he pulls back to something lower because he can, not because he's chickening out, but because it's negotiation. The taco trade has gained traction among investors who anticipate market dips following Trump's tariffs threats and subsequent rebounds when he backs down. Essentially, they're playing the markets for the dips in going back and forth, literally going back and forth for when things should crash. They're playing those parts, and when they think they'll rebound back, they'll go back into the business of holding on to it, selling and holding as the market goes. It's a pretty volatile thing, but it's making some people fast money right now in this time of turmoil. And it's not something that Trump's doing on purpose. He really can't do that. But the inconsistencies in his tariff policies are creating this uncertainty for most people, and only certain people can actually engage in making money off the taco strategy, coming in, going back out. Only certain people have positions where they can put a bunch of money up for things that don't exist at the moment or are existing at a normal level and then be able to sell them off so quickly when they know things are going down because they can make that happen. The administration continues to navigate the complex trade relationships of the world. Trump's tariff strategies are a big part of that, a contentious issue going forward for economics, policymakers, and market participants all together trying to figure out what to do. But in the meantime, we are all subject to the vulnerabilities that is the taco trade. Here's a message that might seem a bit ominous. Israeli Prime Minister says Hamas Gaza chief Mohammad Sinwar has been eliminated. That's how he put it. The Prime Minister of Israel announced on yesterday that Mohammad Sinwar, who is Hamas's Gaza's chief, And the brother of the group's former leader, Yasser Sinwar, was killed in Israeli airstrikes earlier in May. The strike targeted a Hamas command center beneath a European hospital in Khan Younis in May 13th of this month. So Netanyahu confirmed that Sinwar's death happened, and Israel military has not independently verified it, but Hamas has acknowledged, and Hamas has not acknowledged the claim as well, but Netanyahu is saying that it is done, it is finished. Mohammad Sinwar assumed leadership of Hamas in Gaza after his brother Yahya was killed by Israel forces in October 2024. Known for his involvement in orchestrating attacks against Israel, including what happened on October the 7th, 2023, Sinwar was a key figure in Hamas's military operations all along. His death, if confirmed, which has not been, marks a significant development in Israel's ongoing efforts to dismantle Hamas's leadership. The airstrike that reportedly killed him resulted in the deaths of about 28 individuals total, according to Gaza's health ministry. The attack has drawn criticism from international observers concerned about civilian casualties and the targeting of medical facilities. Remember, this was targeted, a hospital that was targeted, but they did it in means to get a terrorist who was supposedly hiding there. Israel maintains that the hospital is being used for Hamas by military purposes, and that's why it was a target of the strike. More details on that. You can go deeper into that one. Not the most engaging story, but Israel seems to think it has things in control. Although, if you watch the stories about how things are going with aid, food aid, and other aid right now, may not be so much. So we're not talking about Musk's last days working for the government and how he's headed out of the government offices and complaining about the big, beautiful bill in the process. But we're going to talk about Neuralink, something that he probably needs to figure out going forward, because he's got to go back to work. And this is a good deal as the Neuralink raises a new round of funding at $8 billion valuation. So when he goes back to work on Neuralink, it might be worth it for him. The brain implant company has raised $600 million in a new round of funding, and its valuation is now $9 billion. Marks a 10% increase from the estimated $5 billion in 2023. The company is developing a brain-computer interface devices, many of them that are aimed to help individuals with paralysis and other neurological conditions. You may have seen the past couple of days, there was a person who has one of the very first Neuralink implants who was on television, who is now living much better life because of the implants. Now, while the implants are controversial and in some cases have not worked as well as they should, this is all new technology. It's what's being developed, and I'm sorry, that's a Freudian slip. Musk is doing what he can to make sure that this company is going to be a viable company going forward. The N1 implant from Neuralink is designed to enable users to control computers or mobile devices using only their thoughts. The device is currently undergoing clinical studies and is not yet commercially available, so you can't buy it yet. But if you're in these studies, people who are dealing with this are getting a lot of great use from this. They aim to build a biologically safe system that will offer full wireless communication through the skin and can record neural activity from 1,024 electrodes, which is significantly more than the current clinical available solutions. So they have big ideas, big breakthroughs. So this breakthrough device itself is had received some clearance from the Food and Drug Administration and accelerates its regulatory path to basically be something you can be sold on the streets, sold on the stores, so you can use at your local CVS, I guess. These individuals, many individuals, 3 have actually have implants so far. We talked about one a moment ago. Earlier this month, a nonverbal patient posted a video demonstrating how he uses Neuralink to edit and narrate YouTube videos using only his brain signals. Pretty nifty. Now, the recent funding and the FDA clearance indicate growing investments and interest into this actual technology. The company can revolutionize the health of humans and the human-computer interaction going forward for people in this one. It freaks a lot of people out, as it should, but this is something that is a ultimate good for us, U.S., and the world, funded and powered by the will, if you will, of one Elon Musk. For story number 4, we have a bit of contention between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, who is not quite doing what he should be doing to say he wants peace, and the president of the United States, who said he'd bring in peace between Russia and Ukraine day one, is seeing that peace not going to be as easy as anyone thought it was going to be. With that said, the Kremlin aide, a person that works for the Kremlin for Putin, is saying that Trump is lacking key info on Ukraine at the criticism of Putin, something that Ukraine actually says that Trump is lacking some key information on Putin, but this is the reverse. A senior Kremlin advisor has criticized U.S. President Donald Trump, stating that he lacks a comprehensive understanding of Ukraine conflict. This follows Trump's recent remarks labeling President Vladimir Putin of Russia as absolutely crazy and accusing him of playing with fire amid the escalation of Russian military attacks in Ukraine. Yuri Yuhaskov, a top aide to President Putin, asserted that Trump is, quote, not sufficiently informed, unquote, about the situation, particularly regarding what Russians describe as Ukrainian, quote, terrorist attacks on Russian cities. Yuhakov, sorry about that, suggested that Trump is only aware of Russia's countermeasures and does not fully grasp the context of conflict. Basically, doesn't know what is being their forward attacks, what they're being attacked with, and only hears about the countermeasures going back and forth. So does not know exactly what Russia is dealing with. Essentially, the same thing that Ukraine says about Russia, saying that Trump knows about what they're doing for defense, but doesn't quite know what Russia's doing in their actual offense, which is the problem with what he's saying in the words being Trump, how things should be fixed. The response comes after Trump's social media post expressing frustration over Russia's intensified attacks in Ukraine, including a record-breaking drone assault that Trump indicated would assess Putin's intentions within 2 weeks. Or Trump actually indicated that he would assess Putin's intention in 2 weeks. The drone attack was record-breaking, happening a few days ago, hinting that they may actually shift away and just walk away from this. Trump has already said this. Vance has said this. Rubio said this. They may walk away from the deal, walk away from making things happen, which is not so much bad for Russia, but is actually extremely bad for Ukraine. Pause from the news. 4 more stories to come, we promise. But right now, we want to get into the part where we ask for your help in growing the News Nerd Nation. Now, if you're getting a sense of a bit of a malaise today, there's a bit of malaise today. Today, I'm a little bit tired, a little bit dragging, a little low. So apologies for that. So I do apologize. This is a bit of a labor making it happen every day. So, but thank you for engaging what we have going so far. In the meantime, we would like you to help us get more people involved so that on days when I'm feeling much better, or maybe throughout the day today, we'll get more people involved for this conversation. It is a conversation, not a dialogue. I need you to like, share, and subscribe to the work that we're doing here. This video in particular, because if people are liking this video, these videos here, I know I picked the right batch of stories. I may not be reading so well today. New glasses are coming, so we'll test those out very soon. But I'll know that I'm picking the right stories to give to you and giving you a good amount of commentary that fits for what you're looking for. Whether you're looking to agree, just get a little bit of off-beaten path commentary, or someone to just hate watch for, we'll give you that. So if you like these videos, I know I'm giving you what you want. And if you like them enough, algorithm will give to other folks and see if that's what they want as well. Now, if you know people who will enjoy what we're giving to you, or hate watch it, if you will, share with them directly so they may join in on the fun, and subscribe if you're not getting this directly into your feed so you don't miss out on this as it comes through. Live every Monday through Friday, about 5:30 a.m. Central Time. And of course, in your feed for replay whenever you get to it, if not. But subscribe so you don't have to go looking for us, or you don't have to wait for the algorithm to send us to you. One of the biggest things about what we're doing here, because we do it live, I push it live so I can put it to YouTube and to X and to Facebook at the same time and get maybe some Google juice from that one, is that it takes 12 hours for it to become a video that's posted back in your feed as something brand new. So it takes a while for people in the live stage if they're not really getting these things to see it. So the more you actually like it while it's live, the more people will get a chance to get it fed to them in the live feeds. And the more you like it when it's live, the better chance they'll see it when it becomes a real live video 12 hours from now at 6 o'clock in the evening to see this morning's news in the evening, I guess. We're talking about Dollar General, but actually we're talking about Pastor Jamal Bryant, who is now Pastor Jamal Harrison Bryant. An upgrade, it's, I guess, come with his fame from the Target boycott. So now going by Jamal Harrison in the trades. But he is the senior pastor of the New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Stonecrest, Georgia. And he actually initiated the fast of Target for Easter to protest their backing away from diversity stuff. A new protest, this time a digital protest against Dollar General, criticizing the retailer for rolling back its diversity, equity, and inclusion plans as well. Bryant had previously led, as I said, the 40-day boycott of Target over similar concerns, and Target has seen those effects. In fact, they talked about them in their earnings report, saying that the boycott plus other conditions is a good reason why their numbers are down. Now the focus on Dollar General, the dollar store, accuses them of retreating from their DEI commitment under pressures from the Trump administration. This protest is supported by over 50 Black churches and involves coordinated campaigns to inundate Dollar General's communications channels. That's the email, phone lines, and social media with demands for reinstatement of those policies. Bryant emphasizes that the campaign is not a traditional boycott because you're not just not going to Dollar General. It's basically flooding the zone with messages saying we need these things back until they get so annoyed they bring it back. Acknowledging many communities need these things because in food deserts, the Dollar General is the only place they have to get goods. That's what's there. So don't not go to Dollar General, but make sure you call, email, and send all the social messages you can to get their attention if it's a local thing to you or a national thing for you. Bryant's demands include restoration of DEI initiatives, also establishment of community reinvestment funds, increased partnerships with Black-owned vendors, and a public acknowledgement of systematic racism within the company's operations. The last one may be the hardest part to get, but it's what he's asking for. He asserts that Dollar General's actions represent a betrayal of the Black and low-income communities they basically live in. A big portion of the people who shop these places are living in low-income Black communities because it's all they have. And so the actions of taking away the DEI initiatives is bad for those communities. Digital protest is something that's a new fact, and Black faith leaders are using this thing here, and maybe more if it works, to hold corporations accountable for their commitments to diversity and inclusion specifically. Now, as we look, I didn't say we because of this, look for more younger, newer community leaders to go forth these things. A man like Jamal Harrison Bryant is someone who is putting his face out there as someone for the next batch of national leadership. We'll see if that catches on. But he's got a call to now target Dollar General in these digital boycotts. Although it's not so much a boycott, more digital pestering. We'll see if this works out for him, for Dollar General, for all of us. Scientists have discovered a dangerous levels of forever chemicals in beer. U.S. beer here, and they exceed the EPA limit, so beer may not be so great for you. Although beer is always awesome, the recent study published in the Journal of Environmental Science and Technology revealed that 95% of 23 tested beers across the United States, these are things that are brewed here in the States, contain per or polyfluoroalkyl substances, the PFASs, known as forever chemicals that we've talked about for a while. These synthetic compounds associated with cancer and other health risks are believed to enter beer primarily due to contaminated tap water used in the brewing process. The highest level of PFAS PFASs in contamination was found in beers brewed near North Carolina's Cape Fear River Basin and in St. Louis's counties, Missouri. Given that the beer is approximately 20% water, brewing uses large volumes of that water. Its quality of that is a critical factor. The study also highlighted that standard brewery filtration systems may not have the works to get rid of PFASs because obviously they're finding them. These findings underscore broader environmental concerns as PFASs have been found in public water supplies across the nation, affecting over 70 million Americans right now in products ranging from rainwater to personal care items. Consumers are advised to use specific certified filtration systems for their water, those using active carbon or ion exchange resins, if you will, or high pressure membranes to reduce the PFAS and exposure in their drinking water. Study hopes to improve the water treatment across the nation and the policies and practices going forward. Beer is consumed by many of us around the nation, around the world, if you will, and it's about 90% water. Although the quality of water is crucial to what's going on. In fact, that's part of the selling point to these beers on their water quality. If the water quality is as contaminated as tap water, as regular water systems with the PFASs, PFAAs, it's going to be an issue. As an estimate, 200 million people in the U.S. are drinking beer itself. This is a story we teased yesterday. I didn't know it was going to get too much response. The weirdness of Wednesday was sort of a, I'm going to say, lukewarm engagement score day. We'll talk more about engagement score after the next story, which was the number one engaged story for the day. But we're going to talk about it. You guys seem interested in it enough. It was high enough. It got the engagement that we got. So Kevin Spacey is back in action in Hollywood. He directs and stars in a bizarre supernatural thriller with Tyrese and Dolph Lundgren. So this is not Sinners, but this is something totally different. It's called Holigards. He's directed it and he's starring in it in a supernatural action thriller, making his first feature film in over 2 decades. Spacey stars with Tyrese Gibson, Eric Roberts, Brianna Hildebrand, Disha Patani, and of course, Dolph Lundgren. Filmed in Mexico in 2024, currently in post-production, working on the wrap-up, so it should come out fairly soon. In a near future world, Holigards centers on 2 ancient factions, the Holigards and the Statigards, engaged in a secret war over humanity's fate. Amid this conflict, a young woman discovers her unique lineage, potentially holding the key to ending the actual turmoil between the two. It's intended to launch a franchise under the Holigards versus Statigards banner. Essentially, this thing is going to be the next Hunger Games, if it can be that one. Produced by LG Media Group and Lotto Film with a budget about $10 million. I guess Dolph Lundgren's not that expensive these days. The trailer for Holigards was showcased at Cannes in this month and signals Spacey's attempt to reestablish his presence in the film industry following past controversies and, of course, 20 years since doing an actual movie. It's going to blend supernatural elements with action. It's going to have a reception to see what happens as critics want to see the movie and what Spacey can do, and whether it's time to uncancel Spacey going forward. Our final story for this Thursday morning is Cassie Ventura and her 3rd child being welcomed into her family after she did her testimony a few weeks back for Sean Combs' criminal trial. Cassie Ventura and her husband, Alex Fine, have welcomed in their 3rd child, a baby boy, weeks after Ventura testified in the federal sex trafficking trial against her former partner, Sean Diddy Combs. The couple, who married in 2019, are also parents to daughters Frankie, born in December 2019, and Sunny, born in 2021 in March. So now they have the boy to fill out the family, 2 girls and a boy. They now make a basketball team in their own. Ventura announced her pregnancy in February of 2025 via Instagram and shared black and white family photos with the pictures, captioning with a little blue heart emoji, things like that. Number 3 there. Alex Fine hinted his love and expression for what's going on, saying the new addition will be the best gift to their family. And then came the emotional 4-day testimony that in the Combs trial. This happened a few weeks back and was done from the front of the trial on a person who should have been a deeper person for the prosecution, basically a key witness, one of those stars that you bring out in the back end. She was literally about to pop. And so I needed to get this taken care of immediately. Also, the timing, everything as it went for the trial. It was that necessary. You could see part of her physical uncomfortableness when they I guess in sketches as they portrayed her in court, and part of her actual uncomfortableness as she actually did the discussions, and they described how she gave testimony detaining allegations of rape, physical abuse, and coercive controlling during the decade-long relationship. Her testimony was pivotal part to the prosecution's case against Combs as he pleaded not guilty to charges including sex trafficking and racketeering. This is a thing where after the case went through, after they put her up, the prosecution had some key damning testimony that can be used in the front end to paint a picture of Combs for the jury to understand and see how he may have been towards everyone, especially Cassie. For the defense, it showed that if is for a later addition to the actual trial, she were on the stand later, they probably would not have gone in certain routes, or probably would not have done some things, or maybe had time to, plan up some different agency with this one, because they don't know when she'd be on the stand. Essentially, since she is dealing with her motherly leave right now, as she has to bond with her baby, then she's essentially off limits totally. It was good to get it done off the bat and get a lot of this really super salacious stuff done for us. Although it's technically not our business, because now it's in the courts, it is to get this for us to tickle our own fancies, if you will. What are we teasing for tomorrow? 3 stories that are in the feeds on Facebook and X that you can engage in, plus any of the other stories we have for you all day long today to possibly talk about tomorrow. Starting off with Jon Stewart, will keep hosting on Mondays until The Daily Show gets the 60 Minutes treatment from the Trump administration. So says he. This is a interview with Jon Stewart, so it gets the details on what he's doing and how he plans to keep on doing the 1 day a week work with The Daily Show. Also, a British toddler becomes the youngest ever member of the Mensa High IQ Club. Check that story out. Plus, Harrison Ruffin Tyler, the last living grandchild of former President John Tyler, dies at 96. Ruffin Tyler died at 96, so he had a pretty good run. But remember, President Tyler was our 10th president. And while our nation's only 250 years old, it is hard to think about someone as president number 10 having spawned that old. But President Tyler had a child at a very old age, who had a child at a very old age, who had this child, who lived to a very old age. We can go deeper into the line and lineage of it. It's a very interesting story, and big history nerds like me get into this. But the grandchild of President number 10 finally passed away. He passed away at the age of 96. These 3 stories are keyed up in our feeds on Facebook and X. Facebook.com/This Conversation Project, X.com/TH_conversation. If you're into this type of stuff, check us out, follow us on our feeds, and engage in the stories, the headlines we have all day long. That helps us pick the stories we have for you here in the shows here. And of course, that we do our hot takes on. We did a hot take. It was a long hot take. It was 6 or 8 minutes going through a batch of pardons. And we didn't even go into January 6th pardons, but it was the Grizzlies. It was a sheriff who was charged with corruption. It was a soldier who was court-martialed because of COVID-19 restrictions. And it's the possible pardons of the people who wanted to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer. That's a possibility. He said he's thinking about it. Thinking about a lot of things these days. We have that. Look for that in your feeds for more details and things like that. We're doing more longer things on those ends and more thoughtful things as well. But the pardons, they're in the news. That kept us from putting 6 pardons into the news feed for today for this program, and to do more things like that. That's why we can say today was sort of a whimsily day for the news, because the stories you had were all engaging. These all stories you had were ones that got their engagement. Numbers sort of down. A lot of people were focused on the pardons, especially on the actual Grizzly pardon. Oh, by the way, if I didn't say it, unfortunately, when I went through the first thing, the Cassie story was the most engaging by leaps and bounds in yesterday's stories. Let's talk quick about Ground News. Ground News is our spotlight sponsor for the day, and we want you to get a better chance of checking out more news that's not biased and one-sided by looking at other news outlets that are biased and one-sided. So here's what Ground News actually does. You see the bigger picture because you get all the perspectives from all views. You uncover where your news is coming from and where the other news stands are putting in their news out there. Get unbiased perspectives by actually looking at other perspectives that you aren't seeing. Local, national, and global news is all covered by Ground News. And what they do is they lay out sources from stories that have maybe missing pieces from what you're not getting. If you're a Fox News lover, it will put it next to a more liberal state and a more conservative state, or more central state like a Newswire, assuming that you have that coverage. Now, there's a blind spot feature within Ground News that looks for stories that are being covered exclusively on one side or the other, things that a liberal leaning type of media outlet wants you to see a lot of because it's not so nice for conservatives, and vice versa. Conservatives want you to see all this stuff that the liberal thing is doing that they think is bad, and the liberals don't want you to see it because maybe it is bad for liberals, or maybe it's just something they're blowing out of proportion. You can check this out with a great deal from us. Get 40% off the Vantage plan through Ground News, through our email link, or our affiliate link, should say. Our email is an email as well, but affiliate link is this. It's conversationproject.com/ground news. This is conversationproject.com/ground news. If you join in on the fun at Ground News, you get 40% off their plans and give a small commission because it's a commission site. It is a affiliate link. So check it out at this. It's a conversationproject.com/ground news. Cut through the noise. Download Ground News for your phone or your tablet, or watch it, read it on your PC or Mac, if you will. Easy to read layout, side-by-side comparisons. Get the news and cut through the noise with Ground News. The Conversation Project lives online at this. It's conversationproject.com. We like to think that we are doing what we can to affect the news coverage you have by letting you affect it directly. We offer up news articles from various sources on our feeds all day long for you to engage in, and then we gather them up early in the morning, around 3:30 in the morning. We'll pull them down and start sifting through them, and then prep them for the presentation we have for you at 5:30 a.m. Central Time, live on Facebook, on X, and on YouTube, and on replays whenever you want to get to them. So how does this all work? It's simple. Remember, our website home is thisistheconversationproject.com for all the details you need about what we have going on. Check out our feed link. Check out links to other sources for this, including our hot takes and our email newsletter. Check out past episodes to see some news that you may have missed and our origin story, how we do things, plus sponsor links and links to our partnership page. Our email address, theconversationinbox@gmail.com. Email us with any comments, concerns, or questions about the Conversation Project. And of course, the feeds, as I said a few times before, facebook.com/thisistheconversationproject and x.com/th_conversation. Every 50 minutes or so, we put news articles there for you to engage in. And so when you engage in them, the higher you engage in, the more you basically touch it, if you will, the better chance you have talking about it in the next iterations. We'll have 8 stories for you tomorrow, like we have for Tuesday, Wednesday, and today, Thursday. On Monday, we do 10 stories. We have 3 days to work with, so we get an extra 2 stories, although we get an extra 60 stories to pull from. So it gets a bit harried on Monday mornings, but we give extra for those as well. Then we get too long with the actual headlines going forward. Today we did very good, right about 30 minutes for the whole show. So we're going to wrap it up pretty succinctly. Love you, mean it. This was a Thursday, May 29th edition for things you might have heard. Consider being a partner. Consider checking out our sponsors. Go to our website and click the links for those things. And make sure you're here tomorrow, and we'll wrap things up. We'll see how the news goes today. It's been sort of a up and down sort of news, as the up and down of the tariffs have done for our economy. It's been up and down news-wise so far. We'll see if we can wrap these things up with some pretty heavy, or hopefully some lighter things, as it has been kind of heavy stories for this week. Thank you so much. Love you. Mean it. Said that already. I'm going to say this again. See you tomorrow.